Good afternoon, everyone. I really like to get our responses. I want this to be as interactive as possible. So, good afternoon again, everyone. And then I'm not getting a response from you guys. Abosede Salah, Adola, Ibeo.
Hi.
I'd like to get everybody's response before we proceed. All right, so I think we can just proceed then, since you guys are not in the mood to talk to me, but I'm in the mood to talk to you. So, my name is Jeremiah, and I'll be speaking on the importance of testing in software development. So, as I said earlier, I want this to be a very interactive session, and so what we'll be talking about today is going to be software testing, why it is important for you to focus on it, no matter the stage you are in your career. And then I will just have a short demo on that. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Jeremiah, as I said earlier. I'm currently a senior software engineer at Apollo.io, a software startup in San Francisco. So I work remotely out of Nigeria. I'm currently based in Lagos, Nigeria. So I've worked previously at Mixed Technology UK, also a small startup, and then Main Logics Nigeria, Expert Systems, and Global Cool Nigeria Limited. So I currently work as a senior backend engineer, and I work more with Python and Ruby, but and I know most of you guys work JavaScript developers, so don't be scared. The coding session is also in JavaScript, so it's something you'll be able to follow along with. And the coding session will also be building on the last guest session you had, which was on the art of debugging. So also kudos to students for putting this together. And one important point I'd like to mention is I really want you to take this as serious as you can, because this guest sessions are really insightful. I recollect I checked out the last guest session you had on the art of debugging, and as I want to call myself a senior engineer, I was still able to learn quite a lot from it. And one of the things I picked away from that class, or I learned from that class, was from that session rather, was the speaker mentioned something on changing just one thing at a time. And that's a mistake I've made like throughout my career. Like when debugging, I tend to just go on Stack Overflow. I have this problem. How do I fix it? Then you see like 7 different answers. Then you start trying out option 1. You try option 1, it doesn't work. Then you go to option 2. Then somewhere along the line, you now try option 4, 5, 6, 7 at a time, and then you run the code again, and the error is gone. Now you don't know which of these was the one that fixed the problem. So you have to now like you now have to redo what you've done. So I just wanted to take this serious, and I hope as we go along, we give rapt attention, and then we'll be able to get the best out of this class. So this is a little bit about the organization I currently work with, but I wouldn't want to talk much about that now. So we'll just focus on the main reason why we're here, is testing. So this is a funny quote I saw somewhere. Can you guys still hear me? I would like to get feedback from you as the class goes along. I don't want it to just be me talking.
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you. So all code is guilty until proven innocent. Even if you are the one that wrote the code, you still assume it is guilty, because you can't just blindly trust a piece of code that it's going to do this. You have to make sure it's doing what is intended to do. So what exactly is software testing? I'm sure at this point we shouldn't like be defining what software is, or what piece of code, what coding is. You guys are already conversant with that. So a friend of mine would say software testing is writing code to test your code. That might sound funny, but that's actually what it is in a nutshell. You are writing code to test a code you're about to deploy or pass on that it is working. So you need so software testing is basically a method to check whether the software that you just wrote, a piece of code or a function, a class, whether it really performs what you're expecting it to perform, whether it meets all requirements, both from the product owner, your product manager, or your client, whoever you're working with. You need to be sure that code you'll be delivering or you'll be handing over, whether it matches the requirements that you got. So it basically involves execution of either using manual or automated tools to evaluate the software that you've, a piece of code, a block of code, function, anything, software now, whether it meets the requirements and whether the actual function of the code you'll be deploying, whether it's working perfectly. So it's really important to pay attention to software testing at any point in your career, but the best point to start is earlier on in your career. So there are also career paths for software testers, but it's also important for as a software developer, as a software engineer, to also be able to focus on your testing skills. So, and I think that's really something that will set you apart amongst your peers, being able to own the aspect of software testing, even as a software engineer, as a software developer, whether you're working on the front end or on back end, being able to test your code and confidently say, I wrote this, I tested it, and I'm sure it's going to work. But then you can't trust your code until you've tested it. So I really don't want you to make that mistake, because moving on to the next slide, it's important to know to pay attention to software testing. And I have a couple of bad experiences about software testing, personal ones that I will also share. So if we look at I highlighted some notable events here, some events, not so positive events now, that could have been prevented due to if the software had been thoroughly tested. And the third option here, which is a mistake I made personally, was I wrote a piece of code, and it was meant to do a part. I might not be able to go into the full details now, because so let me just try to summarize it. So I deployed that code, and it was partially tested in the case that the code was meant to handle two particular cases. So I tested well for the first part with then I made the very dangerous assumption that for it to have worked for the first part, it's going to work for the second part. And then I wrote the test for the first part, or for the first use case now, and I partially or completely ignored the second part. Then the code went to the normal review process. It was reviewed and it was deployed. And then after like a week, I noticed it myself. That was probably the good thing, not that I was noticed by probably end users and customers. I noticed it myself, and I had to fix the bug in production, and the fix was deployed. But then that would have been that was a costly mistake, and that could have the impact could have been higher, and that kind of scenario could have been avoided if that part of, or that portion of that code has been thoroughly tested. So that said, it's just to show that we can overemphasize the importance of software testing generally. And I really want you to pick this up at this point in your career and build on it as you go forward. So from definitions, there are different classes, types, strategies for software testing, but I really want to just focus on a few of them. So unit testing is the first and if not the most important part. Then integration testing, system testing, and then UAT. So I'll talk on this briefly, and then we'll have a hand-on session, a very short hand-on session on unit testing. So what exactly is unit testing? So unit testing is like the first part in software testing. Like it's like the first step. So let's give this scenario. Probably you just joined a big firm, and then you with a already large code base, or maybe you are just working on yourself, and then you want to write a as small as probably a function that calculates the sum of two numbers. Once you write that, it's the best thing to do after writing just that function is to write tests for it. I think during the last guest session, the guest also mentioned something about test-driven development. Did anybody bother checking that out? I'd like to get a response. Did anybody bother checking out what that is?
What's more?
I think I have 11 participants on this call, and I think I'd like to get responses from at least 2-3 people. Did anybody bother checking that out? I think I have to mention names. Charles, I think I saw Charles. Yeah. Yanacho Charles, can you unmute your mic and did you bother checking that out? I guess network issues. Solomon. Oluwatoba Solomon.
Yes. Yeah. So did you bother checking that out?
Not really. Not really.
I think I'm trying.
It's a civil it's a civil.
Yeah, sorry, sorry for that mix-up. So, as I was talking about, as I was saying, as regards unit testing, that's like your first line of defense in software testing. After this is like the first line of defense, as I said. It is you are meant to follow it to test each unit of your program, and it helps you to know whether that particular unit is working properly or not before you now move to integration testing. So integration testing is okay. I worked on this unit. I worked on another unit as well. Probably a third developer worked on another unit. We need to make sure those individual units would work together when they are coupled together. So I guess that's integration testing. That's also very similar to system testing. So the last part of UAT is just to assess the whole system, and then to be able to show, to be able to certainly say it's going to be able to handle the end-to-end, the day-to-day usage of your end users and the different scenarios that it's meant to handle. So I want to focus more on unit testing at this point. So when people hear about unit testing, they seem to have a lot of questions, and I'm sure some of you have questions already. So I will definitely attend to that when it's time for that. So when people hear about unit testing, probably beginners, and they seem to be confused that, okay, why do I need this test? Why do I need to test this small function that I wrote? I'm sure it's working as it's meant to. Like, at least I can look at it and see. But you've not tested it, so you need to take it through different scenarios that might show up, either planned or unplanned. So the first thing is, how do I even know what to test? So when it comes to testing, even a simple block of code can paralyze a big system. So the first question, and I guess the most important question, is how do I know what to test? So let's assume you're working on a big web application. The good starting point would be to test every page of the app, test all the possible interactions the user would would have with the code. And so even looking at the web applications are also made up of unit of codes, functions, modules that need to be tested. So whether you inherit a legacy code base or you are working on a new code base, anything you add, there's an addition coming from you as a developer, you need to be sure it is completely tested. And what do I mean by that? For the unit test, let's say you write a function to calculate the sum of a number. You define in the test, you define what this function is meant to work on, and then the expected output. Then you compare the two together. Okay, if I write the function that calculates the sum of two numbers, if I supply the function with 1 and 2, I'm expecting to get 3. Anything other than 3, then that code is not working well. So that's just like a very simple example of for unit testing. So I'd like to for the hands-on session. Does anybody have any questions so far? Like something you need to clear up, something that you don't understand? I think we should take those questions before we proceed. Anybody? Okay, I think I'll take the silence as silence to mean we don't have any questions. So as I said, I mentioned earlier that I would like to start from where the last guest speaker, I know he mentioned something as regards this, and you worked on a factorial function. So, and I remember a couple of students had questions about recursive functions. So did anyone bother checking that out? I think I'd like to hear from everybody as regards this. So, starting from Abosede Salami, did you bother checking out what recursive functions were and how to implement them?
Okay, so from what the last guest.
So you can continue.
So from what the last guest spoke about, my understanding of the recursive function is a function that you can call maybe later, and then you use it for what you declared before now, something like that. That's my understanding.
Okay, I think that might be partially wrong, but then at least you still tried that, you still checked that. So I think Adebayo Samuel, I'd like to hear from you too.
Yeah, I didn't check it out.
Yeah, sorry, can you come again?
No, did you hear what I said?
Yeah, can you come again? I didn't get you.
Okay. I said I haven't checked, I haven't looked at it, but I am going to check it out. Because we can-
The session was I think over a month ago, right? So I think the best option, the best way to get the best out of these sessions and classes generally is to make sure once once you see something that looks strange, something you don't grasp, you don't understand that at a glance, the best option is to note that down and check through it later. So that way you'll be able to build yourself, build your skills, and that's going to really help you a lot in your career. I think Adwola.
Yeah. So I read about it then, but because I've not used it again, I don't know if I still remember. Well, I think it's like a callback function. I don't know.
Okay, but at least you made an effort. So when you say things like that and you learn them, the best option is to implement something with that, no matter how simple it might look. So at least that makes it stick, and when you come across it later on, you'll be able
Yeah.
to find a way to use it, to understand it at a glance. So
Yeah.
next person, think Chino. So
Yeah,
and
hello.
then we move to yeah, me too.
Okay, yeah, I think I was able to check that out.
Okay, and what will you say your understanding of it is?
So it's just a divisive way, if I would say, of making your function, you know, uh, placing the function in such a way that you can call it back, right? So it's like, how do I put it? I would say it's like a loop in disguise, kind of. So yeah, so it's like a loop in disguise. First of all, you are giving it, okay, this is where I want you to stop. You give it, this is where I want you to stop calling back the function, right? And then you now put the function, so you pass the function itself inside it. You understand?
Yeah,
So you pass the function inside the function.
I
So
think
yeah.
that explanation answers it. But we've not heard from a couple of people. I just want to hear from them as well. Charles and I think Dave. That will be all. Then we'll move on. Charles, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
So please, I'm just sorry, just going with the class. I'm just getting back home now from somewhere. So I just want to unsettle down and focus on the section.
Oh, all right, cool. No
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
No problem. It's fine. So this function is okay. Let me start from this. I guess this should be like the easiest and shortest code in the world. So this is basically a function that calculates the sum of two numbers. Then I think this is just like let me say something very simple to just demonstrate testing. So since most of you guys are JavaScript developers, for each language there are going to be lots and lots of testing tools you can use for testing, because you can't start testing each scenario manually. Even so, there are tools to help you achieve that. So as I said, I work more with Ruby. So for Ruby, we use our spec for testing. So but for Node.js, there are lots of tools you can use for testing, and depending on what you are testing exactly. So there's Jest, which I'm going to be using for the short demo. There's Jest. I think there's Mocha.js. There should be there's Cypress as well, and a couple of others. So I really wanted to check those ones out, and there's really no best tool. Just depending on what part or what aspect you're working on. So you need to that's also one of the skills you need to have as a developer, being able to, because there are lots and lots of opinions out there, especially Nigeria Tech Twitter and everywhere. There are different kind of opinions. So the best option is to there's no best tool, there's no best language, there's no best framework for testing. It's just to know, okay, this is what I want to achieve, and then make sure you're using the best tool for that particular project you're working on. And using that way, going through that method, you shouldn't have run into a lot of problems. But when you do, Stack Overflow is always there to help out. So looking at Jest is just a framework for testing. It's maintained by Facebook. So it helps you test out the expected behavior of your JavaScript code, and we just like do a run through demo. So this, looking at this sum function, this is the code we wrote. Very simple and straightforward. Anybody, is there any confusion here before we proceed? I don't think there should be, but if there is, I think let's just tackle it now. Any question before I proceed? All right, I think I'll take the silence as a no. So this
Sorry,
is
could you come again? This module.export.
Yeah.
Would you come again? Why is it export and not? I thought I saw something about this. You're showing that you're trying to export the function or what?
Yeah.
Somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll be able to access it from the test module, which is here.
Okay.
We're exporting it here and then accessing it from another file, which is where we need it to run the test.
So when you export it, you do not say where you want to. Okay, did you import it in the text file?
Yeah, I just imported the file, and then I'll be able to access every module that was exported in that file.
Okay, but like I'm not on this because there's on the file that you want to use it, there's no import there.
Yeah, I required the file.
Okay, you have both. Okay, you have both files in a folder, right?
Yeah, in the same folder.
So the required there is what I haven't seen required before.
Okay, it's just to like pull in a piece of code or a file from an external source, basically. Most likely the same folder you're working on, but also you can require from anywhere. Once you start working with, thank God I has an idea as Zoom. So it's basically to load, as I was saying earlier, to load files or modules from an external source.
Okay.
So
because,
what
yeah, okay.
The question?
Yeah, go on. Because I'm saying that I haven't seen. I think what I've seen is export, and then that's the one I know about. Export, then the file, the function that you want to export. But I don't think I've seen this one before. I mean, you have module also. There so I really do not understand this. I thought it was what, but I just realized that it's not the same as what I've seen. I've seen export space and then the function you want to export, but I haven't seen this module.export, and this is also plural export.
Actually, export and module or export, they actually point to the same object, unless export also would directly work in this case.
Okay. So the module there, the module is just a method. Is that what you're saying? This module.export.
Yeah, module.export and export, it points to the same object actually in JavaScript.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So this is the function, as I said, very simple, and So this is the function.
I'm sorry for asking again, though, please.
No problem.
Yeah,
Fine.
what if you exported this, right? You just exported that function and then you launched it. Let's say you launched it. How does someone who wants to get that how is the person going to
Launch. What do you mean by launch? Like deploy to production?
like you deployed it? So the because this one now you're having both files in a folder. Now that way you just launched it, but you do not have. I mean, so how do you import or require like you just did now? How do you do that? That
From
scenario?
another folder, right?
Not the folder. You launched the JS, like you launched the JS, you exported and then you launched it.
I still don't understand what you mean by launch. Do you mean like running the JavaScript file?
Okay, let me just put it this way. Okay, you don't need to export. Let's say you launched a JS file, right?
Yeah, I want to be clear on what you mean by launch. Is it to run the file?
Like deployed.
Okay, run. I can do
Deployed
that.
it.
So that's
Yeah. So that how do you now import the JS or functions from in that
from another external application, right? Is that what you mean?
yes, let's say you deployed it, maybe you used Netlify or something to deploy it, or something else to deploy it, and then maybe you have the what do you call it now, the site, like you have the address, IP or address. Now how
I
do
think
you import it?
I get your question. What you're saying basically is, let's assume this file now is sorry, let me get there. So this file now is packaged as a complete application and then deployed somewhere, maybe on Netlify.
The
Then you
JavaScript, just the JavaScript. The
yeah,
JavaScript.
this
Yeah.
JavaScript file
Okay.
is
Okay.
deployed somewhere on Netlify, right?
Yes.
And you need to call it from
Yeah,
another
call functions. Yeah.
another application.
Yeah.
So that way, to enable two applications talk to each other, talk
Yeah.
now, quote and unquote. I think
Yeah.
that using API calls. Because
Okay.
from an external application, you wouldn't be able to directly access this JavaScript file. So you have to expose this through an API, and then once the API gets data, it passes it to this function, and then returns the response. So, but so you can like require an external file on
Or
a
imports, but you can import, right? No.
for you to import, you can only import files or modules. So if you are importing in JavaScript, whether you are importing maybe a node module which you must have installed with npm install, or you are requiring a JavaScript file somewhere online. So unless the JavaScript file is made available for you, you can't import it. If it's packaged as part of a website, you or an application that is deployed online, you definitely can import that. You have to talk to it through API calls.
Okay.
But this can be imported anywhere within your application. But once it's from outside your application, unless that JavaScript file is exclusively provided for you, unless you have a link to directly access it, you can decide tomorrow to import a
Hello.
function JavaScript from Facebook's code
I
base
think that
now. If that particular function is not available via an API call, then you won't be able to access it. But you can access it from within Facebook's code base. But from outside, if it's not available to you via an API call, you won't be able to access it. I hope that answers your question. But if you are still not satisfied, I can try to explain better. Does that answer your question? I'm not sure who asked the question. So does anybody have any other question, or I can just proceed?
I have a question.
All right.
I'm sorry, I don't understand all the things you've been talking about since everything. I don't understand.
From what part exactly? Is
From
it
the
the
parts Nonso pointed out, module or export, I don't even know what that means. I don't understand everything. I mean, what are we trying to do here?
okay? So what we're really focusing here is this function, right? But I want you to get that straight. Like let's all agree on that. All we're focusing here is this particular function. But then I need this function to we can try to write the test in this same file, but that's going to be like against all conventions. So the best option is, or the normal convention is to write your test in another file. And then that way we need this particular function called sum to calculate the sum of two numbers. We need it in this file, which is outside of the file it was defined. So that is why we're exporting it from here. And then in the other file where we need it, we are importing it or requiring it, so we'll be able to use it from here. So that way, once we call sum, it's going to make a reference to this sum that was exported here, which is this function. Are we clear on that now?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Any other question?
Hello.
Hey,
Okay, so in the sum.test,
JS.
oh, sum.test.js, that one.
Which is the test file.
Yeah. So now here, okay. Now here, what you're doing is that all the function in that sum.js, you're assigning it to this sum here.
Yeah, so it's not.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. So any other question?
Yes, please.
It's
Okay, so this require then this brackets, I mean this parentheses and everything here. Is that the code for testing?
no. I'm actually not gotten that. I was just about to start talking about this file now. So
Okay.
any other question as regards this 4 lines of code before we move on to this? And any other question,
Hello.
please?
Hello. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon,
It's David.
Dave. Right? All right, cool.
Just to be sure, is it that module.export that is linking this file to that code?
Yeah, so module.export makes this particular function enables us to be able to access it from any other file as long as we require it. So once we require that
Okay.
sum.js file, we can access this function from anywhere.
Hello. Okay.
Yeah, I
Just
can
like
hear
this
you.
one is okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to ask that just like global variable and global scope and local scope, this thing, is it similar to that?
Can you come again with the question?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. I said, can you come again with the question?
Yeah, I was asking if it is similar to global scope and local scope. Yeah,
Yes,
I said,
yes.
is it something similar to global scope and local scope variables? These functions, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So once we exported this
Thank
function
you.
here, it's now accessible from any other file we need it, as long as we require the sum.js file. So can I proceed with this with the test file now?
Yes, please.
Sorry, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sorry, if you go back to that sum.js, why do we need to assign it to a variable sum? Why can't we just use a module.export? or that's the way it must be done?
So actually, there's really no one way to do. There are a lot of different ways we can do. We can just do exports directly, module or exports. That also works. So there are different ways to do
Okay.
it. I just tried to go for this.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry,
All right.
I mean, you were complaining we're not asking questions. Now we're asking questions.
It's
So,
fine.
um, this I thought you did this because that's your number 4 line because you just wanted to export some.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I mean, how you answered the guy's question last, I think it's Samuel that spoke. You said you just want to go with this, but I actually thought you did this because so let's say you had other functions in this page, right? In this sum.js,
Yeah.
and then you do module exports, module.exports equals to sum. It exports only sum, the function sum, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure because I think that was why he was asking, but you said you know that I don't think maybe you, so I just wanted to be sure because that you're not just assigning the sum there wasn't you assigning it to a variable or anything like.
Oh, so you can export multiple functions
Okay, thank you.
from a file.
Okay. Sorry. Like if we don't use equal to sum, it means we are exporting the whole. Assuming this file has several functions, we are exporting everything together.
I'm not really sure about that, but most times, as I said, I'm not much of a JavaScript developer, but at least
Okay.
I work more with Ruby, but then I can, you should also be able to like work on other programming languages. So if you want to export functions, you can just do a module export and pass in the functions you want to pass out or expose. But I'm sure there will definitely be a way to export other functions, like the whole file as well. I'll confirm that and get back to you on that. Any other question? Can you still hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
All right, cool. So that means we can move on to the test file, right?
Yes. Go
So
ahead.
okay. So we can now access the sum function from this test file now. So for you to be able to you run this test locally though, you would have to have Node.js installed and you install Jest. But I'm running it on an online platform because I don't have Node.js installed locally. But for the sake of this also works just like a normal or a local Node.js installation. So then we have access to the files and then the our shell where we can run the JavaScript from. So the back to testing. You know what you are testing are meant to pass to the function, and then you know what the function is expected to give back to you. Can anybody still hear me? All
I
right.
think your network is bad.
Yes.
Sorry, please. Can you recap that? It seems your network
It
just
got
took out
lost a
on
long
you.
time ago.
Apologies for my network is deciding to mess up today on this. Oops, this is very bad. But can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So as I was saying, to test the function, you need to know what the function expects. Know what the function expects. Then you pass that in. Then you confirm or check if the response is what you expect. I think this is just like it's so.
Hello, you please. I mean, you're good. I can't even. I can't even see what you're typing. Like, my network is bad.
Apologies, everyone. Internet went out. Well, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
All right. Let me just share my screen. All right. So as I said, we know what this function is, and then we know the output is meant to give back to us. So we'll need to write tests. So the first thing is know what the function expects. Pass that in, and then confirm if the output is what you expect. So are we still together?
Yes.
Yes.
We know what the function expects, we pass in what the function expects, and then we confirm if the output we're getting is what we're expected to get. So for, as I said earlier, I will be testing with Jest. There are different packages testing. So I just decided to go for this. It's not a must that you always use this when testing or when developing. Just know what is best for what you want to do, and then go for what you think is the best. So there are various just syntaxes of, it should be plain JavaScript, but let's just be sure. I think the website will be just.io. Okay, yeah. So you might have to like go back later to check out the syntax and conventions for Jest. That's going to take like a very long time. So to just go straight to the point, I think we should still be able to understand it. So in tests, basically you know the scenario you want to test, you pass in the values, and then you confirm if the value, the function you are testing returns, or the unit you are testing, if that value returned is what it's actually meant to return. So looking at the test for this now, So this is what we are trying to test. We describe the sum function. That's what we are trying to test. Then this is the first test case. So we want to test whether addition of 1 and 2 would return 3. So we're passing 1 and 2 to this function. If you guys recollect that, we can now access the function sum that was defined in this sum.js from this order file. So we're calling this this function with these values, and then we expect the response from sum.js, the function sum inside sum.js, to be equals to 3. So that way, this is one test scenario. And the second test is we're testing. Sorry for that. We're testing also the second scenario. Addition of 10 and 2 should give us 12. So that is also defined here. We expect the outcome from running this sum function to be equals to 12. Then the last test case, of course, when you start working on bigger projects, the test cases will start to grow, and then of course it's not going to be as straightforward as this, but we're just using this as a starting point, as a point of reference. So to run the test, we run it with the just command. Apologies, I think my internet is. Let me just run from here. I was trying to run from the shop before. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
I think the internet is. Apologies, still with you guys. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
All right, cool. So running this command is going to run using this command is going to run all files in this folder that are named with the extension .test.js. So I just focus more on the sum.js. I will also talk briefly on the factorial.js and then the test for it. So all our tests are successfully passed, or they passed. So just to show you what I mean. So if this is, let's say we are expecting for one way or another, let's assume that the sum of 10 and 2 is 12. I know that's against logic, but let's assume that it's 13 rather. So this function would return 12. So let's run the test and see what that gives us. Are you guys still following?
Yes.
I know this might seem like to be a lot taken, but so looking at this test that we just altered. So from here we are telling the test, this particular test is that we expect the outcome from this to be 13. but then the outcome that this gave us was 12. So the test suite pointed out that out there here that I'm expecting 13 because you said the outcome from this function should be 13, but the function is giving me 12. So there's a problem there. Then you need to check it out. But we know that it's not a problem. That was just a test case we used to like see what we'll see when the test fails. So this might actually look like something very simple. You can just say, why are we testing this function? Is it not the function to calculate sum of two numbers? I know that 10 and 2 would always give me 12. Yeah, it might seem that it's not needed in this case, but as I pointed out earlier as well, testing is a skill you need to build. Now it might seem that you don't need it might seem useless, but believe me, when you start working on massive code base, legacy code base, then you start seeing the importance of testing. And so once you've build it up, working on small projects, small files, small functions, when you now have to now start writing tests for the bigger files, for the bigger functions, old legacy systems, you wouldn't have an issue with that. So I just want to quickly touch on this as well. This particular function was also used during the
Sorry,
last.
sorry for what was
Right.
the test suits?
He said?
The test suits. Because while he
All right.
says
So
he passed 4 tests, okay.
yeah, continue your question.
I said while he said it passed 4 tests, that's could you go back to the last listen? Sorry.
Sure.
So he said that's the first one. He said he passed 4 tests. So that means it's calculating the describe it's calculating the sum function, and then because we have the test, actually we have 3 tests here. So it's saying 4 in total.
Yeah.
Then it's now split it to 2 suits.
Yeah, I pointed out that in this command, running the jest command is going to run every file that has the extension .test.js. So it's also running one other test suite from here. Let me comment this out.
Okay. I've seen.
That was why we have.
All right, thank you. Makes sense.
All right, thanks, man. So going to the factorial function now. I'm very sure you guys are conversant with this. So you don't have much to talk about here. So I think I pointed out something here. So let's imagine this scenario. So a client walks up to you, or probably your product manager, or yeah, let's just use those two options: a product manager or a client, and reaches out to you that, okay, I need you to build this for me. I need you to build a factorial function that calculates and return the factorial of any value I supply. Then any negative value that is also supplied, the factorial should always be 1. That's how I want to work. Then let's try as much to remember this. And so you got this particular requirement from your product manager or a client. Then you go ahead and implement this particular function. Of course, looking at this, you might say, okay, this function works. So I think let's comment out this test.js since we're done with this. So this function works, and using recursive method is going to calculate the factorial of any numbers. Then you go ahead and tell the product manager that you are done, and then this gets deployed to production, goes to code review and the likes. But then looking at, okay, let me ask the question first. Looking at the requirements, let me copy that. So it's going to be in the same file. So looking at the requirements from the product manager or from the product owner, and then this this particular function that we wrote and then want to deploy, would you say we've met all the requirements? Can anybody still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah. So would you want to say we've met all requirements, even though we've not written tests for this particular function that we wrote, but then would we want to say we've met all the requirements for this particular that the clients requested for? So the way we can know that is just to write tests for it. You can decide to look at it. Okay, yeah, it's fine. So we can deploy this, but that would be like the wrongest thing to do. So proceeding with the test. So this is our test now. We all know the factorial of 5 should be 120. So we write the text expecting the factorial. Are you guys still following me?
Yes.
Thank you. So this runs this, and then the function returns okay, saying one test failed. All right, okay, I think I know why this test must file cannot be empty. I think I'll just go ahead and delete this. So we won't be confused with. All right, so we're running just one test file now. So this is going to test this particular outcome. So we have one test and one of those tests passed. So but going back to the requirement again, there was an important point that the one test case or one edge case that the owner mentioned. He said all negative values, he wants the factorial to always be 1. So let's also write a test case for that. So I think just go ahead and duplicate this to make. So let's pick a negative number now. Let's pick the factorial of -1 to be 1. So as I said, some mathematicians will argue this. I think there's a graph to prove factorial of negative numbers, but that's not really what we are bothered about. So this, I think we can all agree that this test case handles the this scenario that was pointed out by the owner, that he wants the factorial of all negative values starting from -1 onward to be 1. So let's now run the test to see if our function actually fits that criteria. So running the test now. All right. So looking at this, we can see that the new case we just added failed. Anybody knows why? I think so. That has shown that
The beginning of
though
the
we think
factorial.
we're done with the function. Yeah, thank you. So that shows us even though we think we're done with the function and then it works well, we still need to test. And so how do we fix this? We've seen that there is an error with the function we just completed. So how do we go ahead and fix that?
Change the n to 1.
Thank you. That was pretty straightforward, extremely simple. So that way running our test again, we expect everything to pass. All right, so that's just like a very simple and straightforward way to show test. Of course, this you still need to do more after this. When you get conversant with more of JavaScript, when you start working with Node.js, there's definitely lots of testings you can do, a lot of testing frameworks, and also there are tools to. If you have also noticed, we've been testing most of commands that we run, most functions that are like command line functions. We've not really talked about UI, testing the UI and the likes. That's also possible, and yeah, test suits for that. I think Cypress is one of those you use for testing UI. So just I wanted to pick something away from this session, this short get session and demo session as well. That testing is something you can't just relegate to the background, because it's very important to do unit test. Then also integration test as well. After you've tested these units, we don't have I don't have a coding session for the integration, but I'll speak about it briefly. So after running your unit test, you also need to run integration test, and to be sure this function, when it interacts with other functions as well, it's not going to cause the system to go awry or cause major problems. So like just looking at this, these are two separate functions now. They're working correctly. Of course, they are doors or windows now, as the case may be, and they are both meant to open. They have handles. They're working well. So the developer wrote unit test. The unit test passed for the two, but then ignored integration test, and then when the whole system is coupled together, the system is technically useless because these two windows can't function. So I think that also points out the importance of testing. So any question on this before I proceed? Any question?
I have a question.
Oops.
Can you hear me?
I think I switched to my personal.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, please, I hope this question doesn't sound stupid. What's the difference between debugging and testing?
Okay, they're actually different. So debugging is, I think, how would I put this? They are actually different terms. They are completely different terms, even though they are also closely related.
I can't hear anything. No, sorry, I'm not hearing you.
I think
It's breaking.
Debugging, writing tests helps you expose bugs. Okay, let me put it that way. Writing tests helps you expose bugs. Right. So can anybody hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I said writing test helps expose, helps you discover or notice bugs in your code, and then debugging is now the art of fixing those bugs. So they are closely related and intertwined. So you can actually do debugging without testing, though that's not writing tests is not advisable. But once you write test and then you see errors, you see irregularities in your code that you need to fix, then that's debugging. So they both work hand in hand. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions before we proceed? Any other question? Okay, I think I'll take the silence as no. Okay, this was what I initially prepared. Okay, we can just forget about this. This is in Ruby. So we also spoke a little bit about integration testing. So I think so that will be all for that. So and I'm also expected to talk about insights. I think I'd like to make this as open as possible. So any question you have at all, just
Hello?
straight at me. So I'll try my best to answer those questions.
Hello, Jerry.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
Hello?
I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello?
I can hear you. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I didn't get how you ran the text. The network was skipping. I just looked at my
You
phone
didn't
and
get
I saw a
what?
lot of codes. I didn't know where they come from.
Wow.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You said you didn't know what?
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah,
you.
I said I didn't get how you ran the codes. How you ran the text. How you ran the test.
Oh,
I didn't get how you
okay.
ran the test. I just looked at my screen and saw a lot of codes. I didn't know
So
where they come from.
okay, let me confirm if you're the only one that had that.
It's not the only one.
Anybody else having that
I'm
same
not-
issue?
Yes. Me too. Me too.
So, okay, was anybody else able to follow along? I know some people had questions. So, was anybody else
I,
able to follow along with the coding session?
I think it's the network. I also have the same thing. Yeah, the same issue.
Wow. So that means 3 people couldn't follow along. Anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? So I think most people were able to like follow along. But we have three people. Let me try to run through it again. So for the 3 people that couldn't follow along, where was the last point you were with us? Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah. So what was the last point you couldn't follow along? Again.
So after you did
Hello.
that, export export some. That was where I got lost. And I was just like, I couldn't make a meaning out of what you're doing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. So you had issues after the export.
Hello, Jack.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear
Yes,
you.
exactly.
So you didn't follow along for the first test when we tested the sum.js.
No, I didn't do that.
All right. So okay, I think I deleted that. So let me just like try to do a quick recap with this the test for factorial. So running through this, we got our program manager reached out to us that okay, they want they want you to build this function, the factorial function, something we're all familiar with. But then the function should calculate the factorial of any number. But there's now one extra condition that the program manager gave, which is that negative values, the factorial should always be 1. So initially, this was the state of the code was this. So running this, we might want to assume that, okay, this code, looking at it, it's going to work. Then you might want to reach out to your manager that, okay, I'm done with this. Then do the code review and then deploy. But then there is one major problem with this, and the problem is that initially this was not part of our test. So running the test for this, the first scenario. Hope you can still hear me and see me.
Hello? Hello?
All right, so if you can still see my screen, this the only test case that we have for this past. But then looking at the requirement, there's another requirement that was pointed out, that the factorial of negative values should also always be 1. So let's write tests for that case as well. And then this is going to be the test, that the factorial of any negative value, in this case -1, should always be 1. So, and then we write the tests, then we run the test again. But in this case, one of our test cases failed. Then looking at this, we can see, we can read through what failed. So this is saying, normally we're expecting this to be 1, because the from the product specification, the factorial of -1 should be 1. But then the function is returning -1. So that led us back to the function, looking at it again and fixing what was wrong, which is that in this case, it should always return 1 when the number is less than 1. And then running the test again. This, after fixing that, all test cases should pass, and then we can ascertain that this actually meets all the requirements. So hope you're able to grasp that. Any question from there? Okay.
Yeah,
Can any other person hear me? I think it's for your own network now. Don't mind.
I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
All right. So were you able to get that, or is there something not very clear? I need me to.
Yes, I was able to get that. I got that.
All right. Thank you.
Then when you wanted to run the test,
Yeah.
hello, Jerry.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Hello,
Yeah, me too. You can go ahead with your question.
can you hear me?
Sure, I can hear.
Yeah, I said when you wanted to run the test, you typed just -- verbose. Is that like the command to run the test, or?
Yeah, you can actually run it with just jest. I just added. So there are different. How would I call it now? Arguments you can pass into commands. So to just so there are different commands. There is just coverage. This is to check out the code coverage, the percentage. I think that was one of the take home task I want you to work on. So to check out more on code coverage. It's also closely related to testing. So I want you to check out code coverage. When we get to the end of the session, we'll discuss more on that. So that was just an argument I passed into the command. So running just jest would also work. Hope that answers your question. Okay, I think it's your personal network. I think every other person can hear me.
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
All right, yeah, thanks. So the last part is I would like to just take questions from you guys. Anything you need me to anything you need to be clear on, any questions you have as regards anything, probably my career, my things you need to do and the like. So just be free to ask the question, and I'll do my best to provide answers to them. Questions. It appears you guys don't have a lot of questions or any question at all. Are you guys still with me?
Yes, we're still here.
Yeah, so any question at all that you might have, I think I'd love to hear them now. And so we'll just talk about them.
Hello?
I have a question, please.
All right.
Okay, I so this is my question. This software testing, you were saying that some people go ahead to have a career in software testing. My question now is, okay, when I get a job now as a software developer, would I be expected to do this software testing? Or because I know that I've seen vacancies for testers, software testers. So I don't know if it's an all-encompassing thing we have to do, or maybe there'll be special people that will do the testing.
All right. Yeah. So there's actually there are dedicated career paths for software testers. I'm trying to remember. I think I once saw a quote by, if not Bill Gates, that they are software testers that do 100% testing, and then their developers are meant to do 50% testing. So there are people that are dedicated software testers that their job is to run tests 100%. But as a software developer, as a software engineer as well, you also need to, it's a skill you need to have. So that way, it also makes your work easier and helps you ship better codes and more production ready code. So there are different career, there are dedicated career paths for testing. There are software testers, there are software engineers. But then as a software engineer, they are also expected to know about software testing to be able to test your code. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Any other question?
Yeah, hello, Jai. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I want to ask you, is it only JavaScript files that we can use this test for, or we can run CSS and HTML as well
Okay.
to check?
Yeah, so testing is not limited to just one language. Every language has its own test package, test suite. So I said I work more with Ruby. So in Ruby I use RSpec for testing. Even in Ruby as well, um, there are multiple tools you can use for testing. So for JavaScript, I think Jest. There's also Mocha.js. Let me share my screen again. So Jest is not the only testing framework for JavaScript. There are lots and lots of them. So just depending on what you're working on, and then picking up other languages as well. For Python, I also write Python a lot. We use PyTest. For Ruby, RSpec, and a couple of other ones. So just know for each language you decide to work on or to work with, check out the test packages for that, familiarize yourself with that, and then you're good to go to start writing your tests. I hope that answers your
Hello?
question. Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how long did it take for you to learn Ruby? And did you learn on your own?
Yeah, I learned to be by myself, but before that, I'd been writing Python. So picking up Ruby wasn't that hard because it's extremely similar to Python. So I picked it up by myself, and in a couple of weeks I was able to start writing Ruby codes. Yeah, I would say weeks because I was already conversant with a couple other programming languages, and then coming from Python, which is very similar to Ruby, I didn't have much issues. So I just had to learn the syntax, and I was good to go. Once you are very comfortable with one language, you should be able to pick up any other one with relative ease.
So you don't do JavaScript, like you don't like you're not too concerned with JavaScript.
Yeah, I don't do JavaScript a lot. The last time I wrote JavaScript before now was I think was a side project. Let me see if it's still active. Yeah. So it was just a side project I was working on with a friend. I was playing around with the Twitter API. So on how to stream job postings from Twitter. Then I worked a little with JavaScript, and I worked on this. Not sure it's still working now. Okay, I think it's still working. So I really don't do much of JavaScript. After today, I don't think I'll be having to interact with JavaScript again for a long time. But then it's a nice for you that you do JavaScript. It's nice, and it's as I said at one point, there's no best language, there's no best tool. Just know what works well for what you are trying to achieve, and go for that.
Thanks.
Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Thanks.
All right, thanks. So, any other question?
Yes, I have one more.
Yeah, sure.
So, as a tester, what are some of the challenges that you come across often?
Challenges. It's as a Nigerian, being in Nigeria in itself is challenging. So challenges, I really don't think I have any concrete one to point out. Probably will I want to say maybe imposter syndrome, like the feeling of that funny feeling when you feel you are not good enough, or people will find out that you are a fraud, which you are not. So that might probably be the only challenge I've had that might want to say is very serious. So, but the other ones,
What of internet issues?
any issue I have, you said
The internet issue not a challenge.
that's a general problem we all face here. Because if you notice, I was switching networks. Like I have I use three different service providers, and sometimes three of them decide to. I know you know the names of the three of them. Like sometimes they all decide to mess up. But there is one that messes up a lot, and you all know those ones. So okay, internet might be a challenge because as I said, I work remotely, so I do a lot of online meetings, and so sometimes internet can be a challenge. But my teammates already understand that. So when we have this kind of issues, we just switch to Slack, and then we just chat via Slack. So internet is also an issue. Thanks for pointing that out, and hopefully that will get better. So I don't think there's something we can't do about that personally. So any other question? Any other question before we round this up? All right, I think I can take that to mean no other question, right?
Before you sign out, please. What's your LinkedIn profile so I can just reach out to you later?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that before proceeding. So I think I use the same. So you can reach me on LinkedIn. So you can reach me on LinkedIn here, Jeremiah Ogunyemi.
Connection request. Are you going to accept it?
Baba, I remember you now. I've been seeing you for party now. The end of your party. But it is this guy since. Wow.
Which party is that? Let me go with talking. Which party is that?
Yeah, the starting party now. The one of your party last year.
I'm not sure I was one you saw.
This picture you see. Voila.
I'm not sure as well. So I also wanted to briefly talk on. Oh, sorry. I also wanted to briefly talk on. I don't know the right word to use now. Probably okay, getting opportunities and getting people to notice you, and then getting your dream job. Let me put it that. So also building a portfolio for yourself. So for me personally, I think I have one portfolio website that is not very active. So I focus more of my attention on LinkedIn. So I try to put my achievements, things I'm working on. So I also write once in a while. So and so I just put a lot of work into my LinkedIn profile to make it okay, up to standard. I know it's not like the best LinkedIn profile out there, but it's something you can also look at and probably gain one or two things from. So I worked on it a lot, and so most times with that was it was not an instant thing. I worked on it for a while. Even when I was before I got this the current job, I worked on my LinkedIn profile a lot. I improved it, and I I knew what I tried researching on what recruiters will look out for in your profile, and then I put the good things, the previous project I've worked on. I I displayed it there, and then I got even up until yesterday. I still keep getting like messages from recruiters, offers to job offers, and so once you work on that, and then um, for you, it might be your portfolio you want to decide to work on. For me, I chose LinkedIn, and I focused more of my attention on that. So for portfolio as well, you can also decide to have a nice portfolio to display your stuffs, what you've worked on, your code base, and the likes, code snippets. So, but for me, so it's there's no one size fits all advice or um, something that work for everybody. So just know what you want to focus more of your energy on, and then go for that, and then definitely good choices and good opportunities will come your way. So if you also need help with that, you can reach out to me, send me a connection request, and then we chat and get things and get try to get things sorted there as well. Any other question? Any other question before we call it a day? All right. So it appears no other question for me, right?
Very quick one.
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah,
Or
quick
afternoon.
one. Good afternoon.
Oh,
So this is not really related to what we just did.
okay.
I just want to ask generally, like with your experience and stuff. Um, for the interview process, like how can we
Yeah.
prepare? Like, what are the things that we can expect when we are like job hunting?
All right. So for the interview process, okay, I would like to speak from the ones I've experienced. So for my previous job engagements and also the current one, we definitely go through a couple of interview processes. I've interviewed at a couple of organizations as well, and it differs from company to company based on the company policies or um, what they want to look out for. But most times they all have something in common, which is like they usually have coding challenges, either live coding challenges or peer coding session where you are on the call with um, where you're on the call with the interviewer, then they give you questions to solve on the spot. I think some people call it whiteboarding. So or whiteboard interview. So most time, just focus on as you progress in your career as well. It's not too early to start focusing on that aspect as well. Um, Coding challenges. I think you can check out Coder Bytes.
What that what?
Coder Bytes. Um, I'm not sure. I think Coder Bytes is. I'll compile the list and send it over
Okay,
of website where you can just take coding challenges. So this prepares you for. There was also one I use, I think Cram, where you'd um, so you can also sign up for on Pramp as well. So they pair you with so you just get this build these skills even before you think you need them, or even if you need them now, it's not too late. So focus on coding challenges, live interviews as well, and how to be able to talk through your solutions, like what you have in mind. Okay, when you're in live interview scenarios, this is what they want you to do. Okay, I to be able to communicate to the interviewer that okay, this is what I have in mind, and so a lot of things goes into. So I'll compile the list of those resources where you can take those coding challenges, and prompt as well. You can take live peer interview sessions. Then with this, you'll be able to build on those skills. And when the right opportunity comes, you'll be ready for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. So any other question? Any other question? All right, so I think I would also assume the silence is low. So thank you all for joining this session. It was nice talking to you. So if you still need me to help clear up anything, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn preferably. Or you got a Twitter person, you can also reach out to me on Twitter. So thank you very much once again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
I'm following you at the wheel.
Yeah, thank you, Jerry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Jeremiah. Enjoyed the session. Thank you for taking our time to come down to this space. We really appreciate that. And I'm very sure everybody got to learn one or two things from the session. So please endeavor to follow Jeremiah on his social media platforms so that if you have any questions.
Jeremiah, what's your Twitter name?
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen. It's on the screen. You're like crazy.
Solomon, can you please mute your mic?
It's not.
Bye, guys. Bye. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you very much again. Bye, guys.